Walking through certain neighborhoods in American cities today feels like stepping into a different reality, one that many of us thought existed only in dystopian films or distant news reports. The streets of places like Kensington in Philadelphia, the Tenderloin in San Francisco, and Skid Row in Los Angeles have become ground zero for what experts are calling an unprecedented crisis of addiction, homelessness, and human suffering. This isn't just another statistical anomaly or temporary social problem. It's a humanitarian emergency unfolding in real time on the streets of the wealthiest nation on Earth. The transformation happening in American cities is both rapid and terrifying. What was once dismissed as isolated incidents or problems confined to specific bad areas has metastasized into a nationwide epidemic that touches communities of all sizes. From major metropolitan centers to mid-sized towns, the visible signs of this crisis, tent encampments, individuals in the grip of severe addiction, and the walking wounded of society, have become part of the everyday landscape. This comprehensive examination draws on current research, first-hand accounts, public health data, and reporting from multiple sources to paint a complete picture of what's happening on American streets right now. We'll explore the pharmacological nightmare of xylazine-laced fentanyl, the economic forces driving unprecedented homelessness, the inadequacy of current interventions, and most importantly, what this means for our collective humanity. This isn't just about statistics or policy failures. It's about real people whose lives have been devastated, and about whether we as a society have the will to respond with both compassion and effective action. The terrifying transformation of American streets. The visual landscape of American cities has undergone a shocking metamorphosis over the past 5 years, and the pace of change has only accelerated in 2024 and 2025. Major urban corridors that once bustled with commerce and foot traffic now feature sprawling encampments, makeshift shelters constructed from tarps and shopping carts, and individuals in various states of physical and mental distress. This isn't hyperbole or sensationalism. It's the documented reality captured in countless news reports, public health assessments, and the lived experience of millions of Americans. According to recent data compiled by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, street homelessness increased by approximately 18% between January 2023 and January 2024, with preliminary figures for 2025 suggesting the trend has continued upward. More concerning than the raw numbers is the character of this homelessness. Unlike previous eras where homeless populations consisted primarily of individuals experiencing temporary housing instability, today's street population is increasingly characterized by severe addiction, untreated mental illness, and visible physical deterioration. The transformation is perhaps most striking in neighborhoods that serve as open-air drug markets. In these areas, the social fabric has essentially collapsed. Businesses struggle to operate as customers avoid areas where they must navigate around individuals using drugs openly on sidewalks. Residents report feeling trapped in their own neighborhoods, afraid to let children play outside or walk to school. Emergency services are overwhelmed with overdose calls, sometimes responding to the same locations multiple times per day. What makes this crisis particularly alarming is its visibility and its resistance to traditional interventions. Unlike the crack epidemic of the 1980s and 1990s, which was largely confined to specific neighborhoods and building interiors, or the prescription opioid crisis of the 2000s, which often played out behind closed doors in suburban homes. Today's street addiction crisis is unavoidably public. The drugs involved, particularly synthetic opioids mixed with powerful sedatives, produce effects that leave users incapacitated in public spaces for hours at a time. Public health officials describe a perfect storm of factors converging to create unprecedented visible suffering. The potency of street drugs has increased exponentially while their price has dropped. Housing costs have skyrocketed beyond the reach of low-income individuals. mental health and addiction treatment capacity remains woefully inadequate, and pandemic-era support programs that provided a temporary safety net have expired, pushing vulnerable populations onto the streets in record numbers. The psychological impact on both those experiencing homelessness and the broader community cannot be overstated. For housed residents, the constant exposure to visible suffering creates what researchers call compassion fatigue, a psychological defense mechanism where people become numb to the pain around them simply to function in their daily lives. For those on the streets, the dehumanization and daily trauma compound existing mental health issues and addiction, creating a vicious cycle that becomes nearly impossible to escape. Kensington, the epicenter of America's drug-induced physical decay. No discussion of America's street crisis would be complete without examining Kensington, Philadelphia, a neighborhood that has become synonymous with the devastating impact of xylazine-contaminated drugs. Kensington's transformation from a working-class neighborhood into what journalists have dubbed the largest open-air drug market on the East Coast represents the extreme end of a spectrum that's affecting communities nationwide. Walking through Kensington today, visitors and reporters describe scenes that seem incomprehensible in a developed nation. Along Kensington Avenue and surrounding streets, hundreds of individuals can be seen at any given time in various states of drug intoxication, many bent over at impossible angles in what's become known as the fentanyl fold, or displaying the rigid, statue-like postures characteristic of xylazine intoxication. Makeshift encampments line the streets with tarps and tents, creating semi-permanent dwellings where people live, use drugs, and sometimes die. The introduction of xylazine, a veterinary tranquilizer never approved for human use, into the drug supply has created a public health catastrophe of unprecedented proportions. Often called trank or trank dope on the streets, xylazine is increasingly mixed with fentanyl to extend and intensify the drug's effects. The Drug Enforcement Administration designated fentanyl adulterated with xylazine as an emerging threat in 2023, and by 2024, the drug had been detected in over 90% of Philadelphia's drug supply, with its presence growing in cities nationwide. What makes xylazine particularly horrifying is its effect on human tissue. Unlike traditional opioids, xylazine causes severe necrotic wounds, areas of dying tissue that can develop into deep, infected ulcers. These wounds don't typically appear at injection sites. They can emerge anywhere on the body, often on the arms, legs, and torso. Medical professionals describe them as some of the most severe wounds they've encountered, often requiring extensive debridement or even amputation in extreme cases. The physical deterioration associated with xylazine use is rapid and severe. Individuals who begin using trank-contaminated drugs can develop visible wounds within weeks. The drug also causes severe sedation that's distinct from opioid effects. Users can remain in a stupor for hours, unable to respond to external stimuli, often in dangerous positions or locations. This prolonged immobility contributes to additional health complications, including pressure ulcers, hypothermia in cold weather, and hyperthermia in heat. Healthcare workers in Philadelphia hospitals report treating the same individuals repeatedly for increasingly severe xylazine-related wounds. The typical trajectory involves initial wounds that patients attempt to self-treat on the streets, followed by infections requiring hospital admission, and in the worst cases, sepsis or the need for limb amputation. Many patients leave the hospital against medical advice, returning immediately to the streets and continued drug use, only to reappear weeks later with even worse injuries. The spread of xylazine beyond Philadelphia has been rapid and alarming. By late 2024, xylazine-involved overdose deaths had been reported in 48 states. Cities from Los Angeles to New York have detected increasing levels of xylazine in their drug supplies. Public health officials worry that what's happening in Kensington today represents a preview of what other communities will face in the near future if aggressive interventions aren't implemented. Community leaders and residents in Kensington express a mixture of frustration, exhaustion, and heartbreak over their neighborhood's condition. Many have lived in the area for decades and watched its deterioration accelerate dramatically in recent years. They report feeling abandoned by city officials despite promises of intervention and caught between empathy for those suffering from addiction and anger over the collapse of neighborhood livability and safety. The explosive growth of street homelessness in 2024 to 2025. The numbers tell a stark story, but they barely capture the human reality behind America's exploding homelessness crisis. After years of gradual increases punctuated by temporary declines, street homelessness has surged dramatically in 2024 and early 2025, with cities across the nation reporting their highest counts in decades, and in some cases, ever recorded. According to the Department of Housing and Urban Development's point-in-time count conducted in January 2024, more than 653,000 people experienced homelessness on a single night in America, representing a 12% increase from the previous year, the largest single-year increase since the count began. More alarmingly, unsheltered homelessness, people living on the streets, in cars, or in other places not meant for human habitation, increased by 18%, reaching approximately 256,000 individuals. But these official counts, conducted on a single night in January, almost certainly underestimate the true scope of the crisis. Advocates and researchers point out that point-in-time counts miss people sleeping in cars, those temporarily staying with friends or family, and individuals in locations not accessed by counters. When broader definitions of housing instability are used, estimates suggest over 1 million Americans experience some form of homelessness over the course of a year. The composition of the homeless population has shifted dramatically. While families with children still represent a significant portion of those in shelters, street homelessness is increasingly concentrated among single adults dealing with severe addiction, untreated mental illness, or both. The average length of homelessness has increased, with more individuals becoming chronically homeless, defined as continuously homeless for a year or more, or experiencing 4 or more episodes of homelessness over 3 years. Certain cities have seen particularly dramatic increases. Los Angeles, which already had the nation's largest homeless population, reported over 75,000 homeless individuals in 2024, a nearly 10% increase from the previous year. San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, and Phoenix all reported double-digit percentage increases in their unsheltered populations. Even cities that had previously seen declines or stable numbers, including Houston and San Antonio, reported upticks in 2024 and early 2025. The geographic spread of visible homelessness has also expanded. While West Coast cities have long struggled with large homeless populations, communities across the country are now grappling with growing encampments and street populations. Mid-sized cities that never considered homelessness a primary concern now have established tent cities. Suburban communities are seeing homeless individuals in parks, under highway overpasses, and in wooded areas. What's particularly concerning to researchers and policymakers is the pace and persistence of this growth. Previous surges in homelessness often responded to interventions, increased shelter capacity, rapid rehousing programs, or improvements in the economy. The current crisis has proven remarkably resistant to traditional approaches. Cities have increased spending on homeless services, added shelter beds, and implemented new programs. Yet the street population continues to grow. First-person accounts from those experiencing homelessness reveal the brutal reality behind the statistics. Individuals describe the daily struggle to find safe places to sleep, to access bathrooms and showers, to stay warm in winter or cool in summer. Many recount losing housing due to a single missed paycheck, a medical emergency, or the end of pandemic-era rental assistance. Others describe cycles of intermittent homelessness, finding temporary housing only to lose it again when resources run out or complications arise. The visibility of this homelessness creates secondary effects that ripple through communities. Housed residents report declining quality of life in neighborhoods with large homeless populations. Local businesses struggle as customers avoid areas they perceive as unsafe. Public spaces like parks and libraries become contested terrain, with conflicts arising over their use. Emergency services are stretched thin, responding to quality-of-life calls and medical emergencies. The social contract that holds communities together frays under the strain. The inescapable allure of drugs, fentanyl and sedative combinations. Understanding the current crisis requires grappling with the pharmacological nightmare that is today's street drug supply. This isn't the heroin epidemic of previous decades, nor is it the prescription opioid crisis that emerged in the 2000s. What we're facing now is fundamentally different, more dangerous, more difficult to treat, and characterized by drugs so potent and addictive that they hold users in a grip that traditional treatment approaches struggle to break. Fentanyl, a synthetic opioid approximately 50 times more potent than heroin and 100 times more potent than morphine, has almost completely displaced heroin in street drug markets. Originally developed for medical use in managing severe pain, particularly in end-of-life care, fentanyl entered the illicit drug supply in significant quantities around 2015. By 2024, the DEA estimates that fentanyl is present in over 90% of drugs sold as heroin, and in a significant percentage of counterfeit pills mimicking prescription medications like Xanax, Adderall, and oxycodone. The appeal of fentanyl to drug traffickers is straightforward. It's extremely potent, relatively easy to synthesize, and highly profitable.